In Baw Shire, Drouin was the first town to develop a significant tree register. In 2015-2016, a group of people did an audit of all of the trees in the town, and this group became known later as the Friends of Drouin's Trees. And the work that they've done has now become the blueprint for other towns in the Shire to follow.
A working party of community members with various skills walked the streets of Drouin's residential areas and land that was designated under the Precinct Structure Plan or PSP of Drouin for growth. Trees on Drouin's nature strips, roadside reserves, corridors and public areas were evaluated against significance criteria. The criteria was determined after lengthy evaluation of significant tree registers in other shires and city councils who'd already done this work, in conjunction with the criteria used by the National Trust. 12 criteria consistent with these other shires and city councils resulted. The working party evaluated trees using diameter at breast height or DBH, trunk girth, height, canopy spread, species and habitat value, describing the tree features and then doing historical research. The result was in the order of 270 citations in the final list of individual trees or groups of trees on public land in the urban area of Drouin. Trees meeting only one or two criteria were not included. After the first draft, 2 of our members met with the National Trust in Melbourne. The National Trust went page by page through the citations, and they were overawed by the quality of the trees listed. They asked the group to put forward 90 of the trees for possible listing on the National Trust. Sadly, the group struggled with the time needed to do this, but it confirmed that the Baw Shire's natural assets are of the highest order. One of the criteria of significance is remnant. That is a tree which has remained from the forest landscape at the time of European settlement. Unlike other parts of Victoria, West Gippsland wasn't settled until the late 1800s. The first pioneers didn't arrive until the 1870s. And there's a very good reason for this. Huge, impenetrable forests. In Drouin, huge mountain grey, gum and Strzelecki ranges damp forests covered the sloping land, making it very difficult for early selectors. A measure of this is the 12 timber mills that were active in the 1800s within Drouin town, chopping down the huge trees for Melbourne's building and firewood needs. The forest was dense. A remnant tree in Drouin is very different to a remnant tree in another shire or city council. Another shire might have a definition of a remnant tree being a eucalypt with a girth greater than 900 millimetres or perhaps greater than 1.2 metres. But Drouin's trees are big, capital B, capital I, capital G. Much research was done including various formulas and looking at historic and aerial photos with a magnifying glass to verify what was and wasn't present 150 years ago. The resulting definition for a remnant tree in Drouin was any eucalypt with a DBH of 900 millimetres, which equates to a trunk girth of 3 metres or more. These were considered remnant and likely present at the time of the arrival of land selectors. Well, what the group discovered was that Drouin was home to giants. 120 of the public land trees had a girth of over 4 metres, and 22 of these had a girth over 6 metres. The largest was the settlement giant, a huge mountain grey gum in a park near Bellbird Park. 35 metres high, trunk girth of 12.5 metres, 10.5 metres if the side branch is excluded, and a canopy spread of 25 to 33 metres. The Ada tree near Newgee is a 70 metre high mountain ash, a giant with a trunk girth of 15 metres. Yes, it's much taller than our settlement giant, but it indicates that the settlement giant, with a girth not much under the girth of the Ada tree, is a pretty big tree as well. In fact, the settlement giant is listed on Australia's Big Tree Register. In 2018, Joe Caminiti painted 10 of the giants in 10 days as part of an Artist in Residence program. There are now also 26 interpretive signs at many of the giants in Drouin, all part of educating the community and the Shire about the very special trees at our back door. These giants give Drouin its distinctive character. Drouin's trees are one of the reasons people move to the town and why people love the town. It's so important that we retain these old eucalypts for not just their incredibly high habitat value, but also the values which they bring to our lives. The Significant Tree Register also records the trees planted early in Drouin settlement, many of which are unusual, and they bring priceless landscape and heritage values to our town. Trees like the Avenue of Ficifolias in Princess Way, which were planted in 1936 by school children, or the Cape chestnuts at the west entrance to the town, grown from seed brought back from South Africa, or the Bhutan cypress driveway, which used to run to the pioneering McNeely family farm, to name a few. The Friends of Drouin's Trees are working hard to see many trees retained and not lost to ongoing development. Sadly, in the last 7 years, many significant trees have been removed. It's hoped that the significant trees on future development land might also urgently be identified before too many more are lost to road construction and tight housing lots of new residential developments. Further information and details can be found on the Baw Baw Biodiversity website under the Significant Tree Register tag, or on the Baw Baw Shire website, which also has an interactive map of the sites of Drouin's significant trees. Come to Drouin one day, check out our beautiful trees,